I did not marry a high value man. And I am still very happy, very complete, and very much passionate about spreading this message because I think a lot of y'all are missing out on the opportunity of a lifetime to really find love because you are focused on this high value man. And so I want to talk about that, okay? Hey y'all, what's up? It's me, Miss Ruby, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by to be a part of this very necessary conversation. For those of you who don't know, I am 32 years old. I am married, hence the husband in the beginning. I have two beautiful children, and I have been with the love of my life for about 10 years now, okay? We've been married for 6 years. We've been together for about 10, and he is not what some would consider a high value man. In this video, I want to talk to you guys about why a high value man shouldn't be your goal anyway. And I specifically want to say this to a woman who is single looking for love in marriage, okay? So first off, why are we talking about high value men? What is a high value man, okay? Obviously, it can be left to your own personal interpretation, but right now there is a massive conversation going on the internet with this term high value man, which has been largely popularized by Kevin Samuels, if you don't already know, and he breaks this high value definition down in one of his videos, which I'm going to link below this video. For about 10 minutes, he talks about the different qualities that make up a high value man. And a few of the basic qualities are a man that is high earning, making at least 6 figures, a man who has been making that kind of good money for a while, a man who has been validated by his peers as someone of affluence, as someone who has high quality peers who are also high value men, and he goes on to explain a few other things. Now, what I noticed in his definition of a high value man was that he didn't really mention a man who comes home at night and is faithful to a woman. He didn't mention things like a man who is a really good listener and respects women. And I just throw that out to say that a lot of us, we get really angry when we listen to Kevin talk about, how it takes a certain type of woman to be able to bag a man who is considered high value, because really our definition of what a high value man is different than his definition. And so I think that there's a message he's trying to get across that's actually quite noble, but I do understand, being a woman, that the way that he's delivering this message can get lost in the sauce. So I want to address it from my perspective and see if I can win some of you guys over, okay? So stick around to the end of the video and tell me how I did, all right? Okay, so who is this video for? This video is for the average woman who calls into the show that Kevin does and is asking him for advice on how they can get a high value man, right? The woman who is accomplished, earns a high income, has dated other men that were considered high value, and just doesn't know how to lower her standards. She sees herself at a certain tier, of class, and that's who she sees herself with, right? This video is aimed at you. Also, if you are someone who is maybe not accomplished, but you're very ambitious, you're going places in life, and you want to make sure you match yourself up with someone who is also going places or is already there, because you don't want to deal with the insecurity issues that could arise in the future. That was me, okay? That was me all the way. And it's also aimed at maybe the woman who wants to be a stay-at-home mom and perform excellent homemaking duties and doesn't think that she should have to work if she's bearing children, taking care of a home, and being a supporting vessel, okay? And anybody who falls in between. If you feel like you deserve and need a quote-unquote high-value man, whenever I do the quotes, just know I'm referring to a man that's considered high value according to Kevin's definition. If you feel that you need that and you deserve it and you should have that, this video is aimed at you, and hopefully I can change your mind. And I'm gonna start by asking you a question. Why do you want a high-value man? But before you answer that question, I first want you to answer these questions. What do you want in a marriage? Why do you want that? And is it possible to get those things by marrying someone who's not necessarily considered high value? Based on the answers of those questions, some of you guys have probably already changed your mind about whether or not you need a high value man, but let's dig into these answers a little bit, okay? Most of us, when we're asked the question, what do we want in a marriage? We say that we want a provider, a protector, and a man who's going to be faithful to us, someone who is a great friend, someone who's going to be a great father, and someone who is going to consider our feelings as valid, not just write us off, right? We want someone who's going to be good to us, a great life partner. That's what women want. We crave, we desire, we need that companionship, okay? But if you were to ask a man, what does he want in a marriage? Oftentimes, you'll find most men that you encounter are not in desperate need of marriage. As a matter of fact, the majority of the things that they desire from women, they are full aware that they can get without marrying that woman. See, we want a man who's going to choose us and only us because we do not want to have to go out there and give ourselves away to a million different men just to have companionship. And that's why it's so important for us to have a man that is going to be good to us, loyal to us, and not just loyal and faithful, but also a great friend, because we know that that's all that we want. We need that. We need that. Like we sadly could be likened to like a used car. We can't go out there and just sleep with 50,000 men and still be considered top tier. It just doesn't work like that. The women who have a lower body count tend to be of higher interest to men, just in general, right? But it's not the same. There is a double standard. I get it. That's a whole different argument for a whole other video, but it is what it is, right? For men, they can go out there and sleep with whoever they want. They know it's not taken away from their value. They know that in general, when we look at them, we tend to look at them according to their affluence, their influence, their income. You know, we tend to look at their status. And those are the first things that we notice about them. You know, similarly, the first things that they tend to notice about us, and I'm talking on a superficial level, they tend to notice our beauty, our behinds. You know what I'm saying? They tend to notice whatever society has deemed to be the perfect image or the beautiful image of a woman. That's what a man typically notices first. This is before getting to know one another on a deep level. And so when Kevin is talking about this high value man, he's talking about the upper echelon of men who know that they can have the pick of the litter, who know that they've had many other women and it hasn't taken away from their value at all, who know that they bring everything to the table that the average woman wants and needs, which makes them of higher value because Kevin explains that it's like, you know, the market determines the value. It's just like in business, you know, if everyone is going to buy the same bag of chips, the chips could have started out at $1, but now they can easily be sold for $10 because everyone has shown and proven that they want these chips. And so I think to Kevin Samuels' point, if you are looking at men in terms of a business deal, because some people, they do approach marriage in terms of a business deal and they look at marriage as a business deal first, right? Then absolutely I can understand why you would consider in your mind that you need someone of high value, high status, right? But in my experience as a married woman, as a happily married woman, as someone who is pretty well connected with a lot of people from different walks of lives, then determining if that person is a right fit for you based on this high value description is probably gonna, you know, mislead you. And so first of all, when we talk about men of high status who are still single, who are making 6 figures, 7 figures, who have been making that for a while, who have, you know, been validated by their peer group and who are providing all this value to society, meaning according to Kevin's explanation of value, you know, they're solving a lot of problems in society. Oftentimes these men are very busy, and in my experience, quite a bit of them can be pretty cocky, right? Now there's nothing wrong with someone deeming themselves as worthy of being able to make whatever choices they want. I know that sometimes that can translate as cockiness, but it is still something that kind of can interfere with making an emotional connection with someone when they seem to come off pretty arrogant because they know their worth, right? And it's the same thing with women. They tell us that we're bitchs when we know our worth, right? And so I understand how that also could be a barrier of entrance when it comes to getting to know someone like this. So I understand what Kevin Samuels says when he says if you're not a certain type of woman, someone who is considered FBI, feminine, beautiful, and inspirational, then you're probably not going to catch the attention of a high value man. Why? Because a high value man is looking for a very specific type of woman in general, right? So according to all the ways that he explains his point, I get it. But you really have to ask yourself, and this is something that we need to take into consideration with everything that we ask for out of life. Because a lot of us, I think, have been misled, gravely misled with a lot of the things that we ask for. Okay, we say we want the big house, we want the nice fancy cars, we say we want the jewelry, we want the following, we want the attention, we want the success, we want the high value men, right? But a lot of us don't really understand what comes with that, okay? You don't just wake up and get all those things handed to you. Typically, you gotta work your ass off to get them. A lot of times you have to make sacrifices that you may not know are gonna be necessary. Like a lot of women in the workforce right now who are making all this money and so educated happen to be single. Why? Because it's really difficult to foster nurturing relationships with a man and build something with a man, as well as build something on your own. And we all know that, so sacrifices are being made. A lot of moms are going back to work and they're sacrificing precious time with their children. Very rarely do you meet someone who just has it all at the same time, okay? It's levels to this, and timing is everything. So say, for instance, you were to get with this quote-unquote high-value man, and he was so busy that he didn't have time to go on dates with you every weekend, to just see you at the drop of a dime whenever you need somebody to hang out with, to talk to you on the phone for hours and hours on end while you're getting to know one another. Would he still be that attractive to you? And if you say yes, then maybe that's your type, or maybe you're misled by the idea that if you get with a man who is of this status, that is enough to complete you. But I'm here to tell you it's not. You know, when we talk about marriage and living your life with someone, you're talking about going through the highs, the lows, the ups and downs with them. Okay, so nothing wrong with meeting a man who's got his stuff going on. I don't want this to be misinterpreted. But say, for instance, you meet that man, he's got it going on, and then he loses everything. Is he still going to be as attractive to you? Were you more attracted to his success and everything that he became, or were you attracted to his soul, to his spirit, to who he was on the inside? Those are things that you really got to ask yourself. If this high value man likes to have his pick of the litter, wants a family, don't get me wrong, wants a wife at home, but also wants to be able to do what he wants to do on the side of you, are you okay with that? Because when we just look at some examples, right, people that we know are quote unquote, according to Kevin's description, high value men, you know, a lot of these men are basketball players, celebrities, and we know that the reputation that they have, not to say any of them are faithful, but the reputation they have is they getting it thrown at them left and right. And more often than not, they are dibbling and dabbling in something extra, right? And so that's another thing that you got to take into consideration. The reason why I bring these points up is not to degrade or take away from these quote unquote high value men, of course not, but it is to shift the focus. I think that when you're talking about finding love and someone to spend the rest of your life with, this is the point that I think Kevin is trying to make, one of the points I think he's trying to make. And I would love to do some response videos for some of his topics as well. If you guys want me to, let me know. That you're looking for more than just what someone has accomplished or who someone has become, but who they are on the inside. And a lot of times that person could be someone who wouldn't be considered a high value man, but could complete everything that your heart desires, okay? So case in point, my husband. In my personal opinion, and the opinion is shared by quite a few other married women that I know. Okay, when I met my husband, he was unemployed. He was in transition from jobs, you know. He had a great character about him. Most importantly, we had a great connection. And I had prayed to God for my husband. I was looking for something very specific, and I literally prayed to God and asked him, you know, not to have me blinded by my own, you know, thoughts. Like, show me, give me eyes to see the man that you have for me, because I know whoever God sends to me is going to measure up for everything that I need in a companion. And that's just my personal belief, okay? So I had done that, and I knew that that meant that I can't just look at a status. I can't just look at a bank account, an accolade. I gotta look past that, right? So when I met my husband, it was something special about him that I just couldn't deny. But because I was also a woman who definitely wanted someone who was successful, like I still desired that or was into that, you know. I wasn't gonna just settle either. So I didn't settle for him while he was unemployed. We got to know each other. I didn't write him off though. I knew that there was something there, something about him. I knew he had potential. And so I was willing to see where that potential went. And eventually I saw that he got back to work. You know, he was building something on the side as an entrepreneur. He had ambition, he had goals. He cared about me. He took really good care of me. He made time for me. And as a result, he is, in my opinion, becoming what you would consider a high value man. Through this union that we have, you know, forged together, we both are becoming better together. And so I think that sometimes the point that's missed, I think a lot of times we are listening to things that Kevin Samuels is saying, and we're getting offended when he says, you know, you're a 5 at best, and maybe you should quote unquote lower your standards, right? I think what we're missing there is he's really looking out for all these other men, just like my husband, who are very well qualified to be providers, to be protectors, to be companions of women, to give you the love and security that you're looking for. for, and you're completely writing them off the list just because he doesn't fall into the category of a quote unquote high value man. So when we go back to those questions we asked in the beginning, why do you want a high value man? What do you want out of marriage? Why do you want that thing out of marriage? And is it possible for you to get that thing out of someone who wouldn't be considered high value? Then the answers to those questions will probably prove to you that you would actually be perfectly fine with a man who made $50,000 a year, $70,000 a year, right? And I understand, you know what I'm saying? We got kids, we got bills, we have lives, we have needs. We don't want to get with no deadbeats. And listen, I'm the first one to tell you, don't waste your time on a deadbeat. We can do a whole video on how to identify a deadbeat and how to run far, far away, okay? But just because we have needs and desires does not mean that those needs cannot be met by a man who's not making all this money. That's all I'm saying. I know many married women who are happy, who are with men that do not fall into the category of high value. And I agree with Kevin that a lot of y'all is counting yourselves out of really truly finding love in marriage, that thing that your heart desires, when you reduce your pickings down to a high value man. Ain't nothing wrong with that being on the list. You know what I'm saying? Because I heard a girl in one of the lives saying, like, what's wrong with me wanting the best? Nothing wrong with you wanting the best, but we all want the best. But that's not his point. I think his message gets lost in the breakdown and the degrading tone that he takes with women. And, sometimes he does come off very like judgmental and arrogant. I think his overall message gets lost in the point. But what I'm hearing from the man ultimately is that, we want to level the playing field. There's too many of us that are out there single unnecessarily because men are being just as superficial and women are too. And it's just unnecessary. We can bridge that gap if all of us would humble ourselves and realize that what we truly want beneath all of it is love. And that is why I don't think that you should make bagging a high value man your goal. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments below. I'd love to hear your feedback. Remember to be you, love you, make it all beautiful, and I will see you and you will see me on the next video.